What's going on, y'all? It's JD Pickell. Today on the Hard Count, Jordan Addison has made a move in free agency. He is headed to USC. What does this mean for the Trojans? We will discuss next. Welcome into CFB with JD, the People's Channel. Everything that you know and that you love about college football, it happens here on a nearly daily basis. Jack McKenzie is doing the heavy lifting. If you have had any pulse on the free agency that in college football right now, you know Jordan Addison had jumped in the portal somewhat controversially after having some smoke connected to USC, made an official visit to Texas, made an official visit to USC, was slated to make an official visit to Alabama, cancels that visit, said, my mind's made up, I'm going to USC, mama, I'm a Trojan. And obviously this made waves for a number of reasons, tampering allegations being one of them. We're not here to talk about that, though. We're here to talk about what does this mean for USC? What does it mean for Jordan Addison? If you've kept up with previous videos, you know that we have picked USC to be the horse in this race. There was obviously a lot of smoke with Brennan Marion being the receiver coach at Texas, having that relationship. I thought if he made a visit to Alabama, Nick Saban could have potentially closed the deal, being in that 3 spot. But he chose USC. There was smoke there to begin with. And we're going to assume, again, we're assuming, so it's not factual, we are assuming there is some NIL deal in place that was probably pretty sweet. Also, he's in Los Angeles, so that money on the beach is not a bad deal. But outside of that, there's a really high ceiling productivity-wise for Jordan Addison. You got Caleb Williams, who, if he takes that next step, could be an absolute dog. There is some football to go around, but the majority of it should go to Jordan Addison. You have a really strong running back, a 1,200-yard rusher back there in Dye from Oregon, who's going to be a beast. And if nothing else, offset that already phenomenal passing attack. You have Mario Williams in the slot, Brennan Rice on the outside. So there's some pieces around Jordan Addison to take pressure off of him, but at the end of the day, there's no other superstar on the outside that's going to take the ball away from him, which I think is crucial because he wants to be a top 10 pick. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn there in saying that. So for him, this makes a lot of sense. He's going to go there. He's going to pop in any regard because of what they have around him. And also the Pac-12, no knock, it's just not the SEC. It's not going to be NFL DBs week in and week out. He's going to be licking his chops, and he's going to get the ball deep. That's the end of the story. He's got 1 year of eligibility. What does this mean for Lincoln Riley and USC in the biggest picture sense? If this works, meaning if this portal overhaul works, these 16 kids they brought from other programs and said, come to USC, come do what you got to do here, handle business, we'll win a lot of games. If that ends up being the case, and there's no rule change within the transfer portal or NIL, this is now the blueprint for first-year head coaches, especially first-year head coaches that are overtaking a roster with a lower level of talent. And this is not easy to do. I mean, this is impressive in general to get kids there, but USC has the resources. They have the alumni. We're assuming they have the collectives in place to get guys on campus. And if this works and works being, let's say they win the conference, I think that would be a good season for USC. Now, some people have higher expectations, but let's just put the bar there. If they win the conference, you are going to see a lot more first-year head coaches making plays like this to get their previous guys on campus and to make moves for big-time college football free agents. Now, how that all happens is another video for another time, but like I said, the blueprint is set if this works. Now, from an immediate level, like I said, USC has some dogs. They got some dogs on offense. And Jordan Addison's going to put up big stats. So someone asked the other day, we did a radio hit in Charleston, and they said, is Jordan Addison worth 2 wins at USC? Like, does he make USC right away 2 wins better? And I think the offense can be 2 wins better. I think Jordan Addison is a phenomenal player. We've made no discussion about that. He's going to make a huge impact, but Jordan Addison can't play defense. Jordan Addison can't go down and cover kickoffs, or you wouldn't want him to. He's not going to go back there and try and kick field goals for you. So there's a lot of other pieces around USC within that program that have to figure it out because people have questions about the O-line, people have questions about the defense. This still has to come together. This still has to be something where everything clicks on all cylinders because Jordan Addison can go for 200 yards in a game. They could still lose if they're not stopping anybody on defense. So my answer to that was, in the same vein, it's an assembly process at USC. And we've said this for some time about the Trojans. This has been my metaphor on them from the jump. USC is the equivalent of an IKEA chair. What do I mean by that? A lot of pieces in place. Everything that you need to make a solid product is within that box. And you paid good money for it. We can assume there was good money paid for that chair. Now, you know as well as I do, there's lofty expectations. There's high ambition when you take that thing home, empty out all the pieces in the living room. And you start to look at it and say, okay, there's a lot of assembly required with this thing. There's a lot of screws that got to go together here. There's a lot of pieces that got to fit together. Okay, I hope this fits with this. We'll see. Your goal was to have it done in an hour. Next thing you know, it's taken 3 or 4 days. So for USC, the hope is that you can get this thing together through fall camp. The hope is that it takes 2 or 3 games and then you're rolling. The reality is it could take a year. And obviously that would exclude Jordan Addison, but it could take a second. If Caleb Williams takes that next step, if they're able to get the defense on the same page, they're able to get all their guys into the program from a high school recruiting level, it might take a second for USC to get to where they want to be, which is ultimately winning the conference routinely, appearing in the college football playoff routinely, and competing for national titles. That's the standard that they're setting at USC going forward. Will they reach that this year? I don't think it's a disappointment if they don't. Brady Quinn went on CBS Sports the other day, and he said it's a disappointment for USC if they don't win the national title. I understand where he's coming from because of all the guys you got in your program, how high-profile your coach is, how high-profile your quarterback is, and now your receiver. But it should not be a disappointment for USC fans if they don't win the national championship this year. You got to be very happy with competing for the conference, especially with the layout right now with taking away divisions. Win the conference. That would be a great year. Make the New Year's Six Bowl. The playoffs and all that, we're going to worry about that down the road. We'll worry about that in November. But right now, worry about putting this chair together because you got a lot of quality pieces. We're going to track it. We're going to stay on top of this thing. Very fired up to watch USC this fall. That's it for us here on The Hard Count. This has been CFB with JD. Appreciate you tuning in. Subscribe to the channel. It's free, it costs you nothing, and it makes us feel good. And that way you don't miss anything. Also, follow me on Twitter at JD Pickell. Do a lot of stuff there that we incorporate here. We are going to keep the party rolling, and we will see y'all next time.